Tonight on KGW News, not everyone's anxious to ditch the masks.
Then we don't have a choice as to whether we're exposed or not.
The push from some students to keep restrictions in place. Plus,
people are experiencing unfathomable things living outside.
From mental illness to substance abuse, outreach workers describe the immense need of those struggling on Portland streets. Then later,
leaders and residents alike propose a better way to govern. Your news starts now. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm David Molko, and we begin tonight with what you might call a revolving door in our jail system, one that some say puts suspects back on the streets far too quickly.
In some cases, they go on to get arrested again, sometimes within days. Our Catherine Cook set out to learn what's really going on and discovered there's a big problem jamming up the justice system.
The city of Portland is growing, recovering, and in many ways, thriving. It's also dealing with a lot of crime. From stolen cars and graffiti to gunfire and more homicides than the city has ever seen. Some people arrested are repeat offenders. Take the suspect in last month's kidnapping case in Northeast Portland. Justin Emmanuel Hill is accused of stealing a car with a 3-year-old in the back seat. Court records show that when Hill was arrested, he had several open charges, including 3 car thefts in the last year alone. It begs the question, why are chronic repeat offenders allowed to walk in and out of jail before their trial, often putting the public at risk? A peek at the presiding judge order offers the short answer. Suspects are evaluated on risk, but typically only the most serious felony charges keep people in jail pre-trial. It took a kidnapping charge to keep Hill behind bars. For others who don't meet that criminal threshold, it's usually back on the street.
We can't keep people in jail prophylactically. It would be a constitutional violation of their rights.
This case does.
Cheryl Albright is chief criminal judge for Multnomah County Circuit Court. She points out the system has always worked that way. What's different now is the wait between arrest, release, and trial is longer.
It's everything. It's the pandemic. It's staffing shortages. It's lack of resources. You can't keep someone in custody for an extended period of time without a court-appointed attorney. That just is a constitutional crisis.
Which brings us to perhaps the most complicating factor of all right now in Oregon's criminal justice system: a shortage of public defenders and extreme case overload.
There are maybe 150 people or so who have been arraigned in the last several weeks who have not been able to receive appointed counsel because we don't have enough court-appointed attorneys to appoint them.
Cases have been dismissed because of the lack of representation, because it is constitutionally required.
Carl McPherson is executive director of Metropolitan Public Defender, the state's largest provider of public defense services. On Monday, they started a 4-week pause on accepting new felony or misdemeanor appointments in Washington County, except for existing clients. And in Multnomah County, they haven't been accepting new minor felony appointments since January 10th. For reference, most auto thefts are minor felonies.
We do the work because we want to help people, and to know that there are people who are not receiving our services or our help is extremely painful for everyone doing the work.
McPherson says pausing on new cases wasn't a choice. He cites a 2007 Oregon State Bar opinion. It says they must refuse to accept a workload that prevents them from meeting their ethical obligation to each client. McPherson says attorneys are already working 40 to 60 hours a week on current caseloads.
It's not justice to assign an attorney to a case that they don't have the time to actually invest in representing that individual.
According to McPherson, this problem had been brewing long before the pandemic and will take years to fix. He points to a national study by the American Bar Association. Based on caseloads of the last 4 years, it found Oregon has 31% of the public defenders needed to represent clients, a deficit of 1,296 lawyers. Recently, Oregon lawmakers earmarked $12.8 million for the Office of Public Defense Services. That's enough for 36 more lawyers.
So 36 more lawyers is 2.7% of what we actually need. But it is at least a step in the right direction.
It's a long and complicated answer to what many perceive as that revolving door justice system, a system that, like the scales of justice, is striving for stability.
And so we're trying to balance a system that's not currently balanced.
Catherine Cook, KGW News.
What a complicated problem. And new tonight, a closer look at the barriers and challenges for mothers in crisis after two alarming cases this week. The first in Portland, where a woman gave birth on a downtown sidewalk and left the newborn behind. The second near Eugene, where a mother died of an overdose in her hotel. Her 6-month-old was left in the room alone for days. Alma McCarty spoke with an advocate about these distressing situations. Alma, what did you learn?
Well, I spoke with Rosehaven's executive director this evening, Laurel, and she told me these stories are devastating and really hard to hear. And she admitted she didn't find them surprising.
Wednesday morning, first responders arrived in downtown Portland at what they called an unusual scene.
A woman had just given birth on the corner and was walking away from where she gave birth, like on the sidewalk.
Medics told police the baby was already in the ambulance and appeared healthy. Officer Nathan Kirby-Glatkowski describes when he found the mother moments later.
He encountered somebody that was experiencing some pretty serious mental crisis. Had a lot of concern about her safety and making sure that we got her to a place to get a medical assessment and get her the help that she needed. The sidewalk at Southwest 13th and Market is no place to deliver a baby alone.
Earlier this week in Springfield, another distressing case of a baby boy found alone in a hotel room. Police said his mother was found dead just feet from her son after overdosing on heroin 4 days earlier. The 6-month-old airlifted to the hospital.
It's obviously so sad.
Katie O'Brien, executive director of Rosehaven, says it's not uncommon for mothers in crisis, grappling with addiction and experiencing homelessness, to slip through the cracks.
Not everyone's pregnant, but everybody is struggling with mental and physical wellness. There's so many barriers for people in accessing services.
Even with all the tools at her fingertips, this advocate says she's found it difficult at times to find care for some of the women who walk through these doors.
So it's this whole cycle that just sort of spins around, and then we end up with just really horrific results that we've seen, just these last couple of days.
She says there's a real need for more low barrier and women-focused shelters like Rosehaven, and for more mental health services across the board. And she says it's also a matter of trust.
If we can help kind of bridge those relationships more and make people more comfortable in seeking care for themselves and care for their children, that's likely to extend itself beyond our walls.
And while O'Brien says resources are hard to find, that doesn't mean they're not out there. Oregon law allows for a parent to safely surrender a newborn to a place like a fire station, police station, or hospital. I'll have a link up to that in my story up soon on KGW.com.
So hard to hear, but important to understand the problem. Thank you, Alma. And Multnomah County also has a crisis line people can call to get help. It's 503-988-4888. That is staffed 24/7 and is for anyone experiencing distress or for those looking to get help for someone else.
Well, lighting up the night to honor the more than 1,000 people lost to COVID in Multnomah County. Today marks 2 years since the county discovered its first COVID case. So county workers gathered for a vigil and a moment of silence near the Hawthorne Bridge. Leaders also encouraged everyone to try to feel good, or at least a little bit better, about where we're headed.
It might be hard for people to feel a sense of optimism after 2 years of a roller coaster. We've had moments where we thought we saw the sun, and then Delta hit, or then Omicron hit. But I think that we've learned that we need to take these moments where we can see the sun coming out and be happy, find some joy in that.
How true is that? And while many may find joy in the fact that indoor mask rules are going to vanish in Oregon and Washington as of this weekend, the changes are making some others very anxious. That includes a group of students calling on Portland Public Schools to keep requiring masks.
Amount of transmission between people is greatly limited between two mask wearers. As compared to one person wearing a mask, there is still the chance of them getting sick, which is really unfair because then we don't have a choice as to whether we're exposed or not.
And starting Monday, PPS and many other districts plan to make masks optional. Those students are actually going to lead a walkout tomorrow asking the district to reconsider.
Now to the top things to know about the war in Ukraine tonight. Authorities have just reported bombs hitting near airports in western Ukraine, far from Russia's main push. Plus, new satellite photos appear to show a massive Russian convoy has fanned out into forests and towns all around the capital of Kyiv. The convoy was first spotted near the city early last week, but until now, it had looked like they had stopped advancing. And the U.S. Senate gave final approval today for an emergency package sending military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine and its allies. Then, President Biden is set to announce tomorrow the U.S. and European Union will revoke Russia's trade status. That allows countries to impose tariffs on Russian imports.